Hello, and welcome to the Frivolous and Frugal Knitting Podcast. We are two sisters and a niece today who share our fondness for knitting, the things that we create, and the love we have for the knitting community. And we do it all with a little twist of both the frivolous and the frugal and the fearless. Ooh, how's that?
That was great.
I am Frivolous Dawn, and in our family's birth order, I am the fourth of, I had to stop and think about it. I'm the fourth of 8. I'm the baby girl. How's that?
And yes, you are. And for the record, you are also the princess.
Oh, that's a blast from the past. Wow.
Have to keep you on your toes.
I guess.
Go ahead, Miss Brianna.
Okay. Well, I'm Fearless Brianna, and I am the daughter of number 7, I think, in their family's birth order.
Yes, you are. And hello, I am Frugal Miss Penny, and I am the eldest in the birth order. And I'm going to use the words of my wise sister Dawn. Don't believe a thing we hear or say during this podcast, but check the show notes. It'll all be accurate there. Because we think we know where we are in the birth order. Hey, welcome to all of you returning viewers. We're so glad you're joining us again this week. We just enjoy spending time with you and sharing what's happening on and off our needles. So we hope you glean a nugget or two from our adventures. And if it's your first time joining us, welcome. We're so glad you found us, whether by referral, by accident, or by chance. We don't care. We're glad you're here. And it is our desire that you not only get inspiration from what we're working on, but that you learn something. So grab your knitting, your favorite note-taking device, and a sense of humor, because we're about to kick off episode 66 of the Frivolous and Frugal podcast. Take it away, Dawn.
Why am I the only one wearing something around my neck?
Because your basement is 56 degrees. That's why.
Here's where I want to secretly go, psst, you guys, this is a knitting podcast. All right. Well, I am wearing by Aspen Knits, the Elevation. When you see this pattern, it gives it to you as a long rectangular wrap or as a shawl. I did this as part of a Mystery Mania class at Magpie's Cottage in Sheboygan several years ago. The gray that you see, and it really is that dark of a gray, is Carbon. That's the colorway, and the dyer is Knitted Wit. Victory Sock is the base. The minis, and you need a set of minis with these, so 1 skein of fingering and a set of minis. The minis I picked up from So Happy Jane. It's the Tiny Poppers mini skein set. She was a vendor when we went to the Ann Budd retreat a few years ago. And so I like it. It's not really my colors as far as some of the colors in, like this gold color, I never wear. But I can wear it when it's not against my face. So it's a good use of minis. The only modification I made to the pattern is I had enough yarn to do an extra repeat for this middle section to make it a little bit longer. I was reading my notes in Ravelry. I played yarn chicken and won.
Okay, yarn chicken, how many grams did you have left over?
Yeah, I know this is yarn chicken for me. 1.8 grams.
I'm impressed, Dawn.
I know, and I'm sure I was like on standby outside of the ICU when I was doing it, because that would be whoo. And you know, I love these little shawl collars. I think this one was, oh, here's where Felted Garden on Etsy, maybe. We'll look and make sure that's right in the show notes. I had saw it on the Flock Around the Table podcast. They had them, and I really like them. So yeah, and if I do take it off, it's because of, even though it's cold where I'm at right now in the basement, it's that time of life. The joy of being a woman. Yep. Okay.
That's right. By the way, that was the name of the movie we had to watch in 4th grade.
The joy of being a woman.
I'm telling you, at least it was the name of the movie I had to watch.
All right. Well, I guess, do you want to say what's around your mannequin, Penny, or are you saving that for?
I'm going to save that for what's off my needles, if that's all right.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what Miss Ruby's wearing.
Please.
Miss Ruby is wearing Dotted Rays by Stephen West. That's a paid for pattern on Ravelry. The speckled colorways all came from, why can't I remember the name of it? Oh, Black Cat Studio. They're an indie dyer out of the Milwaukee area, I believe. And so those are the different speckles, and the black that you see in here too. And then the pink was an indie dyer local to me called Wild Rose. I did not look to see if her shop is current right now, if she's still dyeing. But this was a class I did too for Mystery Mania. It was the first time I started a shawl, like right here at the end. I don't know if you can see this dark triangle. Let me see.
Oh, okay.
I guess I should take it off to show you the beauty of this shawl. It starts at that point and flares out.
Ooh.
And then you'll see that the holes or the dotted rays line up as you go. So a great lesson in short rows. Don't look too close. I don't know if anybody remembers, this bled horribly.
Oh, yeah.
So what really is to be a true white with speckles is now a light pink with speckles, a medium pink with speckles. And then, yeah, so that was one of my lessons about this, was the use of citric acid washes to set colors. So
Mhm.
yeah, on a US 6, I believe, and I think I probably gave both the pattern and the yarn a $3 sign on the
Okay.
Frugalometer. So, well, since that's all we have for what's around our neck, how about Brianna, what's on your needles?
I have a big project on my needles.
You-
It's my, well, actually it's my second baby blanket, but it's called a pinwheel blanket. I think there's lots of patterns for them. And so you can see I have a kit, and it starts out with the white and goes to darker gray, and then even darker gray, and then it's getting even darker now. And I've decided not to just do each color blocked. I've been doing is it intarsia? No, what's it called when you do one round
Mosaic?
of one color?
Mosaic?
Nope.
She's fading.
I'm fading the
A
colors.
marling? Okay. Mhm.
Yeah. I forget what I'm thinking of, but I've got to the darkest color now, and then it's a baby blanket. So then I'll have the color of the gender of the baby. And so it's for my friend. And I've really liked this project. It's easy, and I love seeing these pinwheels develop and curl. So that's what I've been working.
That's going to be
Very
a big baby blanket. That'll be nice.
Yeah, I think so.
And I
Very
forget,
pretty.
what size of needle did you say you were using?
It's a US size 4. And I'm knitting, it's baby hand dyed, viscose and cotton.
Oh,
Is it-
really? By Feza.
Yeah, by Feza.
Very good.
I love it.
And because of the cotton, they'll be able to wash it.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping, because babies are messy.
Absolutely. What's on your needles, Miss Penny?
Actually, I just found a mistake, so I'm trying to fix it. I am still monogamous, as you all know. And last night during Knitting with the Aunties, I revealed that I have started my Tenacity wrap, and I want the other ladies to show you theirs. After 3.5 hours of knitting, this is what I accomplished. So this is a pattern by Cold Comfort Knits. I'm knitting it in Valley Charlemont, which is a blend of wool and silk in the raspberry rose color on US size 2s. And I am also trying Prim needles for the first time. So if you are unfamiliar with Prims, you can see, well, not very well, but they have a little knob at the end. And so I'm trying to use it. I will say it slows down the movement of the yarn, drags a little bit, which is nice when you're doing lace, because lace for me is much harder to correct my errors. So that's what I'm working on. I gave this project $4 signs for the fiber for me. Now I'm sure for Dawn, that would be a different number, but for me, it was a 4 and a $3 sign for the pattern. So ladies, why don't you show us your tenacities? Because this was our Auntie's cast on New Year's Day knit along. And Miss Renee, our honorary auntie, has already completed hers, but the rest of us are still trying to make that happen. So ladies.
Yes, our intent was definitely to have it last the year, right? When we first started, we thought if we did 4 rows a day, we'd be done in a year.
There you go.
Are you getting yours there? There you go.
Yeah, I have mine. I made 0 progress in June. I realized that. Look at my June marker. What am I doing over here? But this is mine.
Look
I think
at you though.
It's shorter than yours, Aunt Dawn, yet, but I haven't measured it. I'm loving it. I'm doing it on a 1.5, a US size 1.5 needle, my Addies. And I'm using the Regia Premium Silk yarn. It's wool, poly, and silk. And so, and I'm liking mine. I'm doing the amount of stitches that were in the pattern wide.
And I
I'm-
reduced mine. So we'll have to compare.
Wow, I'm using the same yarn as Brianna in a gray colorway. And
Look at how much more. Oh, but Miss Brianna, you and I are type knitters, darling, aren't we?
I know. Every time I see hers, I'm like, oh, it's so airy.
Yeah.
So I'm at 41 inches this morning. You can see in the month of July, I have not been, since we're in the 3rd week, I haven't been as successful getting my 4 rows a day. Now, interesting. I guess I don't realize how loose I am. Ooh.
Don't go there, Dawn. Don't
Yeah,
go there. It's
can't go there.
tempting, but don't go there.
I am biting my tongue. Okay.
We can see it.
My restraint is amazing today. All right. I ended up working with Melissa, the designer, because I was having a hard time getting gauge. And so I'm working with her. Her recommendation was for me to drop down 30 stitches and to drop down to a US 1.5. So yeah, so I look at yours and you guys have a much tighter weave, don't you?
Yeah. And I'm going to say, Miss Brianna, when we get together in Chicago, we'll take a look. I think your Addies probably give you a little bit more open weave than what I have. I do believe the Prims keep my gauge pretty tight.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
But-
we'll have to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's try to take a picture of all 3 of them next to each other.
Okay. Put that on your to-do list.
I am just finishing my 2nd skein of yarn. It calls for the yarn I picked and to make it 100 inches long, 5 skeins. Yeah. I read Penny's sign language. Okay.
I did. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so I didn't even look to see what I put it on the frugalometer, but if I had to guess, both a 3 maybe. And then we are using monthly progress keepers to tell us where we are at the end of each month. And so I'll have to get you those, Penny, if I didn't get you a set of those. I get those from Karen's Hobby Room Etsy store. And I kind of like it. You get to see where you were as far as progress or lack of, as it was in some months.
Actually, thank you for the offer, but I do have a set.
Oh, you do?
I
Cool.
just haven't been knitting anything that takes multiple months beyond the wingspan. So that's why I haven't used them,
Cool.
but I'll use them for this because my goal is to have this finished by Thanksgiving
Oh, she
of
threw the gauntlet.
2021.
Brianna, she threw the gauntlet. Okay.
I think she's going to pass us by next weekend. Next weekend, we'll look over and she'll have more inches than we do.
Darling, you are too kind, but may I just refer back to the amount of progress or as you would say, progress that I made after 3.5 hours. I'm not a fast knitter, darling. I'm a fast talker, but not a fast knitter.
Yeah.
All right. What else do you have on your needles, Brianna?
I
By the
Yeah.
way, your hair is adorable.
Oh, yes, it is. We
thank you.
like that bob.
It's a throwback to my 3rd grade year when I also had it this length.
Yes. And my favorite picture of you. Oh, you were just so stinking cute.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
My other project on my needles is my first Stephen West shawl, and it's Vertices Unite. And this is my amazing progress. I think that's the wrong side, actually. Okay, this side.
Oh yeah, amazing.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah. And so my colors right now that I'm using, we decided this was Heritage Sock, the brown. And then this is a speckle by Barnyard Knits. And it's a merino nylon blend. And so this is one speckle. There's another speckle, a little more color,
Wow.
and then a yellow. And so I'm excited to see how this one turns out. It was hard for me to choose my colors at the beginning because I'm having a hard time visualizing what the colors will look like where. And so I probably just need to look more into it, but I chose my lightest speckle and my darkest solid for the first section. But we'll see where I go from there. But
Can I ask you a question, Miss? Oh, go ahead, Dawn. I'm
No.
sorry.
I was just wondering which one are you going to use for your pop of color? The gold?
probably the gold, yeah.
Cool. Okay,
So I
sorry.
guess that simplifies my choices.
My question, Miss Brianna, was going to be when you were designing and making all your garments and clothes sewing, did you have problems visualizing color for those?
No, this is the first time I've had problems visualizing the color. And I think it's because on some sections it's striped and it's not always the same two colors that are striping. And then there's solids too. I
so
don't know.
maybe a lazy swatch would be the answer. Do you
That's a good
remember?
idea.
I don't know if Auntie Dawn showed you the lazy swatch.
Yeah,
Have you
I
seen
remember.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would help or not.
Yeah.
And the other thing I just thought about, it's a 5-color shawl and you have 4.
Ooh, I'll have to do some digging.
But you might be able to use one of them again, like the brown maybe for the solid section at the end, the very last part of the shawl or something like that. So I think you could do it with 4. You'll just have to keep playing with what colors are next to each other.
Yeah. Are people doing 3 solids and then 2 speckle or what?
I've seen everything. I've seen it all solids. I've seen it all
Okay.
speckles. And then I see people just doing it willy-nilly with their scraps.
Oh, okay. So
So
lots of freedom.
yeah.
Gotcha.
But you know, you could always just have to buy another skein for the 5th.
Oh, let me pause. I believe someone swore she would purchase nothing during the podcast or the event this morning. So Dawn, let me just remind you, you may suggest, but you may not act upon your suggestion. All right.
Oh, yes. All right. I will show you what's on my needle. Same projects as Brianna. This is my Vertices Unite. And yes, look at it working on the border. I'm doing the I-cord. So section 1 was a gray and a speckle. Those are both from Emma's yarns in the Silky base. The purple here, and I wish you could see, it's really a brighter purple, but the speckled here in the purple is Direful yarns in the slasher sock. And then watch out, here comes the pop. There's the pink.
Ooh, it is a pop.
So that too is
Very
Emma's yarn in the silk base. And then what I finished since last week, this is the solid purple. And then look at this section. Those are the 2 different light speckles. And you would not know those were 2 colors striped.
No, you would not.
But I kind of like that lighter punch. And then I ended with my gray. So I literally followed the pattern, and the purple was the color number that he suggested. Now I'll tell you where I struggled a little bit with the I-cord. This is on a US 4. I did about not quite the first half I-cord on a US 4, and I just kept looking at it. It was too thin and it was too tight. It wasn't going to have a nice stretch to it. So I ripped back and went up 2 sizes. So I'm using my I-cord on a US 6. I still would like it a little thicker, but you know,
I wonder what would have happened if you would have held 2 strands together.
oh, that would have been nice. But there's a good example. You can see it's pretty thin.
Yep.
Yeah, but nice and stretchy. So I'm hoping this is off the needles soon and blocked. So again, we're doing this as a knit along for the podcast. If you join our Ravelry group, which you can find in the groups tab on Ravelry, there is a discussion board called Vertices Unite. It's amazing to see the different color combinations. It is in 2 sizes, small and large. And Brianna, I didn't ask which one you're going to do.
I'm going to do the large because it's going to be a gift.
Okay, very good. And then, yeah, I think there is a couple of different tutorials you can find on YouTube if you're looking at different ways to do the short rows. You could follow the directions that are in the pattern, which are good. I ended up just doing German short rows because I was more familiar with those. But a good lesson in picking up stitches and a good lesson in I-cord, because I swear it goes on for like 6.5 miles. Yeah, so yeah, very good. And it just reminds me when I was thinking about it, I was going to say I'll show it blocked next week. We won't be podcasting next week because we'll be at our mini meetup, which you'll hear more about in a little bit. So that is on my needles.
Wonderful. So what's off your needles?
0, nada, nothing.
You have an almost though. You're doing the I-cord bind off, so you're very close.
Okay, almost.
You are. Miss Brianna, do you have anything off your needles, darling?
No, I'm on almost. I have just one more skein left of this.
Yay! See? All right. Well, let me quickly go through what's off my needles. Yeah, I finished the Oslo hat by Petite Knits. I knitted in Mountain Colors, Twizzlefoot in the Harmony Dusk colorway. I knit mine on a US size 4. I really like the pattern. I was telling Dawn, I think I'll do it again. For the frugalometer, I gave it $2 signs for the fiber, and I gave it $3 signs for the pattern. One thing I would do differently, since I was trying to use up leftover yarn, I wanted 0. I made the brim much smaller than what the pattern called for. So if I were to knit it again, which I think I might knit for all the guys in my family, I'm going to knit again. And I'm not sure I'm going to do that garter stitch because I think it makes it a bit, it's that little garter stitch rim that I think is supposed to help your brim stay up. I'll have to try and wear it and see if that's what it does, but it certainly doesn't hold it when you're just twirling it like this. But anyway, I like the pattern. I think it might be this year's male hat for Christmas.
I love that color.
Isn't it beautiful?
It is.
Now, if you look very closely, there are some greens in there. It's just beautiful. And you'll also notice it's the same yarn that I knit my row by row sampler socks in by Miss Irene Designs with the After This Row from Miss Joyce. So that yarn is done. It is out of here. It's gone out of the stash.
So you did a pair of socks and a hat in 100 grams.
No, in 200 grams.
Okay.
I bought a kit when we were at Fiber Wild in Galena when it was open, and it had 2 skeins in there. So, and let me just say, I weighed both of those. They were not 100 grams.
Really? Neither one?
No. So they were less. Anyway, so that is finished off the needles and being contemplated for a recipient. Then I had 2 kofos, and let me grab this cowl. Hang on.
So while she's doing that, I'll tell you that a kofo is a cast on and finished off since the last podcast.
Yes. Now, this I think is a great project for new knitters on a couple of levels. If you haven't knit anything in the round and a hat is a bit intimidating because of the decreases, I suggest this pattern, and I'll give you the name in just a minute. It's also great for newer knitters because you are changing between knit stitch and purl stitch, which I think is a good practice. You want that transition to be smooth. And I only use 70 grams of fiber for each cowl. Now, the name of this cowl is Puddle Wonderful. Is that not great? It is just celebrating the fun of walking through puddles. And it is by Tanya Marie Willis. She's called the Sampler Girl. She wrote the pattern using a main color and a contrast color. And you'll recall this yarn is the same yarn that I knit the baby pullover from. And it's the Cascade Cherub Aran, which I don't really care for. It's really splitty, very soft on the hands, but it's splitty. I wanted it out of the stash. So I pulled out what I had and I knit until I had about that much left. Now, this was 70 grams. And as you can see, it's a very nice little cowl. So I combined for the second one, I used the contrasting color. And this is Encore Blue Twist in the middle. And if you recall, this is leftovers from Mike's bed socks that I showed last week. I really think the contrasting color features the pattern.
Yep.
So you missed that in the solid color, but I wanted to compare and contrast. So if I knit this again, or Dawn, maybe if you ever knit a beginner's cowl course and you use this pattern, it's great for using and introducing a second color. You're only working with one color at a time, but I just think they're cute, simple little cowls.
I don't think I've ever seen that pattern.
I don't believe you have either because it's not been purchased I think, in fact, I don't even think it's a pay for. I think it's a free pattern, but I like it. I just think it's a cute little pattern. And I would encourage you all to just take a look at it, especially if you're wanting to try a new technique and use leftovers. So each one is 70 grams. Now I have no more Cherub Aran left. And I uncovered 2 more skeins of this blue twist. So I'm going to use it on my granny stripe blanket and just make it obnoxiously confusing. Go ahead.
So both of them are worsted, or you said Aran.
Well, excuse me.
Can you scream or shout?
Yes, I can scream or shout. That Cherub Aran is not Aran. I would say at best it's sport or DK. At best. At best. Yes. Which is another part that was a bit confusing for me because I bought it because I wanted Aran weight for that little baby sweater. Nevertheless, one lesson, it's not really a waste. You just find the project it works for and use it. And I'll tell you, it makes a wonderfully soft cowl. It really does. So I'm a bit sad to see it go, but I'm not.
What size of needle?
I knew you were going to ask that. On size 8s. And of course, it gets a single $sign for both pattern and fiber.
All right. Yeah,
So,
that is a perfect first knitting in the round project.
I really think it is. To be honest with you, I really think it is. So again, I know you're building your repertoire for teaching. As you're thinking about, moving and matriculating knitters from beginning to more advanced techniques, that might be a great transition piece. Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's probably all the finished objects you will see from me from now until November. It is what it is, right?
No doubt. No doubt. Well, maybe we should move on to what we are learning.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing. So what are you learning, sis?
Well, I've been dream knitting.
You have?
Yeah. So the 3 projects I have on my needles are going to come to an end here in the next couple of weeks. So I don't know if everybody does this, but now my brain is churning about what to do next. And I get so torn between what I want to do, but do I really want to do it? Or I just have a hard time prioritizing. And so, I always like to have a shawl on the needles and then like a cowl or something like that and a hat. But I am having a hard time this time trying to decide what's next. I've made a few too many purchases over the last month, so I have too many things to choose from. And then we have a September 1st cast on with another knit along for the podcast for the Curvette shawl, which is a 5 skein Stephen West. Stephen West came out with another amazing pattern this week, which is that's a 6 skein shawl. So I don't know what I'm doing next. So I do need something that I can work on when we do our mini meetup that I can talk and knit. So I will cast on probably a fairly simple either cowl or hat, but I don't know. So I guess I've just been dreaming, and during that little dream time, trying to prioritize. And I have zero reason to purchase new yarn. Zero.
Like you ever needed a reason. All you needed was an impulse or an idea.
That may come later today. But you know what? I have not bought yarn since the last virtual knit together. So 2 weeks. I have not bought yarn for 2 weeks. My stash has to look thinner, doesn't it?
And your mailman probably confused. He's like, whoa, what is happening here?
Are they on vacation or what?
I'm sure he thinks it. Yeah.
And this job thing has got to go. I do not have. Oh, and you know what? This is a squirrel moment, but I don't know who asked me last night, how much do I knit in a day?
I asked you how many hours because you turn out a huge amount of yardage.
Yeah. And I was telling Penny, I have no concept of how fast I knit because I don't think I'm fast as far as speed. So then the only option is that I spend too much time knitting, if that's such a thing. So I think on average, when I was thinking about it and talking through, I think I probably knit around 3 hours a day. If I take little chunks in the morning, a chunk in the afternoon, and then evenings, assuming I'm not teaching. So yeah, I would say I knit 3 hours a day. I don't know. I have no idea what other people knit in a day. I don't know if that's a lot, if that's a little.
Well, don't you think it's all relative? And, there are no absolutes or there are no rules.
Right.
We do this because we enjoy it. And whatever time we have, I think we savor that.
Right. Very good point. All right, Miss Brianna, what are you learning?
Well, I'm learning a lot of things. Well, I do think I thought of this last night, and I've been thinking about it. I think I'm a patchwork monogamous knitter, and so it's a little contradictory. But I do think that I don't bounce back and forth between projects in one day. It's not like I have a morning project and an evening project, But I don't have just one project on the needles, so I'm not 100% monogamous. So I have my Tenacity, and I'll knit 8 inches on that one weekend. And then I have this blanket, which I've knit a lot on it. And then I have my Vertices Unite, and I'll do a chunk. So I think that should be called patchwork monogamous. That's what I have to share.
That is brilliant.
It is brilliant. And it works for you. That's even better. And I like the new term. How many of you out there are patchwork monogamous knitters?
Because when you said something, I'm not monogamous, but I change projects throughout the day. I literally work my one project in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah, I work on 3 different projects throughout the day.
Wow.
So
that works for you and your brain.
Yeah, it does. So that's fascinating. Patchwork monogamy. We do not recommend trying that in your marriage.
No.
Yeah.
Relationships, not so successful. Knitting works just fine.
Yeah.
I think. And I wonder, I'm just going to extrapolate on that a little bit. I wonder if that's what happens when you are not only a knitter, but you're a crocheter, you like quilting and maybe crafting. Maybe you're a patchwork monogamous crafter or fiber arts too, because I know people switch between those.
Yeah.
I wonder. Very good.
You're onto something there.
I think so.
Yeah.
But that's about as far as it's going to go, because it's dropping flat right now, because that is not at all what I'm learning about. I am going to blend in, if it's all right with you ladies, our honorable mention with what I'm learning. This week has been a very affirming week for me, not only as a person, but as a knitter and as a member of a larger community of knitters, as to how much I appreciate those who are gracious and kind and encouraging. And not only just our knitters, of course, you all know that we love that about you and we value that, but of those who are in the community, such as our dyers and our designers. And so I just have a couple of honorable mentions, because when we post show notes and we link to a particular designer and their pattern, rarely do we ever receive an email. And yet there have been designers and dyers who have sent Dawn and I messages thanking us for that and finding it absolutely somewhat honoring that we would mention them in our show notes. I want to share a few of those with you, and I would encourage you to look at these designers' patterns and see if there might be a way that you can knit something from them, knowing that they're very grateful, not only for your purchase, but your time and effort in that, as well as our Etsy shops that we have just become so fond of and have used for the podcast. So honorable mention for this week goes to several people. And let me just get started. First of all, we received a wonderful email, sweet little email from Miss Petra Breakstone. She is the designer for the four color marled cowl. Thank you, Miss Petra. She has other designs. We would like you to look at those. And do I dare mention again, Miss Beatrice Rubio? We received so many little stories about how gracious you are, Miss Beatrice, and how personable you are. And we know that to be true because you've been one of our guests. But please, if you have only knit one of her patterns that we did as a knit along, the Hermes hat, I would encourage you to look at her other patterns. She is a very gracious designer. You'll remember earlier on in our podcast, we had Miss Debbie Trainer come on. She was the designer for Splendid Squares hat. In fact, she visited and was featured at one of our virtual knit nights. She allowed us to participate and question and answer with her. She talked about her fiber journey, her designing journey, shared many of her creations with us. What a blessing. Very gracious woman. We also had Miss Corey Eichelberger on, and she was very kind to us for joining us. And she's another one. If you haven't knit one of her patterns, please do so. These are just a couple. We've also want to mention Irene Designs. Miss Irene has written more than two patterns, but the two sock patterns we featured most are the row by row sampler socks and the Get Shorty socks. And again, so willing to answer questions during our virtual events and share her creations with us. We're so thankful for you. And for Miss Joyce, who designed the After This Row chart for charting patterns. Again, you can purchase that on Etsy. We also want to mention too, we were very grateful that Miss Pink was able to guide us through our Sweet Little Nothings Cal, which is ending very quickly. And we'll talk about that in a minute. And what about Karen's Hobby Room on Etsy? Is she not a sweetie? Yeah. She has just been gracious to us. So we want you all to know, and if I've missed anyone, please don't take that personally. I'm just a very poor note taker. You can certainly bring it to my attention. We just want you to know that we're appreciative, and that's what I'm learning. The the benefits, the joy, and I guess the camaraderie that gracious, encouraging people share and create in their communities. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Very good.
Well, that
Now,
was kind of long-winded, but you would expect nothing less from me, I'm sure. So I've never been able to say anything succinctly except no. If you don't mind, ladies, I'd like to go ahead and start going over what's happening with Frivolous and Frugal. And you know what? Check the show notes. All the details are going to be there. I'm only going to hit the highlights, and I am going to use my notes so as not to overlook anything. We have several things going on right now. Of course, we're eking our way toward 2,000 subscribers. So special thanks and gratitude for our newest subscribers. We're so glad you found us. And it just tickles us that we might at some point actually have 2,000 subscribers. That's exciting. We do have a giveaway this week from the Finish Fix Flipper Frog at KAL. And if you need inspiration, I don't need to say anything other than go to that thread in Ravelry. We have over 2,000 posts, well over 2,000, and I am sure you'll find something to inspire you. This month's winner, or this episode's winner, goes to, and I don't even know how to pronounce this, so I'm going to spell it, Miss Josie. Your Ravelry name is Giusie, and Josie is from Canada. She is one of our Canadian friends, and she knit an absolutely beautiful ranunculus from a frogged project. So you want to talk about the essence of that, Cal? You did it, darling. And I believe it was just gorgeous. We looked at it again last night. So thank you so much for participating. Please get in touch with Dawn, because your prize is any Ravelry pattern not to exceed $10. We will buy that for you. So you just need to let her know which pattern you would like. Our July hat cal, we are using the August hat by Sarah Solomon. So we'll continue to do that for the rest of the month. Our July ornament cal is Deck the Halls with Lace, and that is by Kelly Jensen. Again, we will work on that through the month of July. We won't have another YouTube giveaway until episode 68, so you're going to have to wait a couple weeks for that. Our Sweet Little Nothing cal is going to wrap up on July 31st. We'll probably have one more giveaway for that, and then we're going to lock that thread. So at the end of our cals, we'll lock the thread so you can scroll through, but we won't keep it open so that we have to monitor it. The Vertices Unite cal, we did not put an end date on, so jump in at any point. You need to look at the pictures on Ravelry. They're just wonderful. And by the way, those of you who are participating have beautiful projects. As Dawn mentioned, September 1st is the cast on for the Curvette Shawl by Stephen West. Start thinking, because I think it's 2 skeins of the main color, and then the rest can be bits and bobs and or gradients and or whatever. Dawn, is that right?
Yeah, 4 skeins of just 4 colors you like. They definitely could, and then 1 skein of mohair. Now, not everybody's using mohair. They're just picking yet another color. So you could, I'm only doing 3 colors plus the mohair.
Okay.
So I don't think there's a do or die as far as number of skeins or.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Good.
Easily. So that'll be easy to modify size too.
Okay. Super. So if you're interested, please join us. We have our Chicago mini meetup just a week away, which is why Dawn mentioned earlier, we will not be podcasting the last weekend in July. We will be in Chicago meeting those of you who can join us. And let me just preface this again with, don't expect a thing other than knitting and chatting, because this is not a retreat, and there are not huge swag bags, and there's no chocolates on your pillow, nothing like that, right? It is just here to meet you, hug your necks, thank you, and spend some time knitting with you. All the details you need to know are in our Ravelry thread. So I encourage you to look at that. If you're not on Ravelry, send us an email and we'll give you that information. Now, we have just 2 more announcements. Our August virtual knit night was scheduled for August 14th. That has been canceled because of our family reunion. We'll resume our nighttime virtual knit together in September. Our August daytime virtual knit together is going to be Saturday, August 28th from 10 a.m. to noon p.m. standard time. As always, it is 2 hours of nothing but knitting inspiration and talk and suggestions and learning and sharing. All the information is posted in our Ravelry thread. And if you're not in Ravelry, just send me your email address and I will add you to the email. Ladies, I believe, oh, and one thing I forgot. Oh, Dawn, I almost forgot. Dawn is hosting an open knit for any of the KALS that we are sponsoring for or on the podcast for anyone interested in joining on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of the month. And right now, I wrote down, Dawn, I don't know if this is correct. Do you start at 6 Central Time?
I do. And why do I think it's the 1st and 3rd? Or is it this? I don't know which one it is.
Well, my notes say 2nd and 4th, but let's look and I'll update the notes.
Sure. We'll update it. But the Zoom link is posted too. So
yes, good. And so as I understand it, that's been a nice time. You've enjoyed that.
Oh yeah, about a dozen people have been showing up. And again, different projects are doing any of the KALS, but it's kind of like our virtual knit nights. We just chat about all things knitting. So I really, really enjoy that too.
And we appreciate you doing that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. We cannot end an episode, as you all know, without sharing something from our sister, Faithful Nikki. She is 3rd in our birth order, and she's our statistician, our encourager, our cheerleader. And I don't know, we just love her. And we have a segment in every podcast called, well, the ones I remember to say it. What would Nikki say? So this week, what would Nikki say? And oh, I should tell you, if you're new, Nikki is an avid golfer.
Yeah.
I mean, she golfs. She doesn't even knit. And yet she has learned about knitting. Blows me away. But anyway, this is what Nikki would say this week. As in teaching, knitting, or golfing, we all have to make choices along the way to improve or change so we have success. Isn't that wise? Think positive and you'll have positive outcomes as well. And the 3 of us are all teachers. And so we know the importance of being able to improvise, adapt, and overcome on a dime. And you're so right, sis. Thanks for reminding us that we have to be willing to do that. Oh, ladies, anything that I forgot or any parting words that you'd like to share before we call this episode complete?
Nothing for me.
Miss Brianna, are you sure you don't have something?
I don't think I have anything.
Are you? We just love your hair, by the way, again.
Oh.
Okay. Well, from Frivolous Dawn, Fearless Miss Brianna, Frugal Penny, and Faithful Nikki, we hope your week is a sweet twist of the frivolous and frugal. Have a great week, and we look forward to seeing you in episode 67. Bye-bye.